Hi everyone, I'm Lou Kitzelman from With a Bow on Top by Lou. You'll find the link to my blog address in the information below this video. This is the April Creating Kindness Design Team video on Blog Hop, and our theme is colouring pencils. So all of the design team members have got a different technique or idea to show you using colouring pencils. So make sure you hop around each of the blog posts and also the videos of those that there are, so that you can get lots of ideas. So I'm not sure how you're going at the moment. I hope that you're well and safe, and that you have been able to stay home as much as possible. It's crazy times, isn't it, during this COVID-19 pandemic. At the moment I'm hibernating in my craft room, which is not a bad place to be, and I guess I'll be here until it's safe enough for me to go outside, back into the world. Now, I hope you found something creative that you can do to while away the time. I'm finding that doing creative things is really taking my mind off things. It's a bit hard at the moment. Social media and the media in general is all about COVID-19, which I guess it has to, but sometimes it's nice to take a bit of a mental break and just do something creative. So hopefully you'll find some nice creative ideas in our video on Blog Hop today, so that you can do something creative. So let's turn the video around and have a look at what I've done with colour pencils. So here we've got one of the finished cards. I'm going to show you how to recreate this in a moment. And to make this, I've used watercolour pencils. So I'm going to show you how to do some easy shading like I have on the leaves here, and then some shading around the outside, just to give your card a bit of a pop. Now this stamp set here is one of my favourites, but I've only just cracked it open. It's the Beautifully Braided stamp set, and I've used this image here predominantly. And it's from the Stampin' Up! Mini January to June mini catalogue. So to make this card, let's have a look at what you need. You need a piece of shimmery white cardstock. You can use watercolour paper, but I find that I really love how shimmery white cardstock works with watercolour pencils. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're using A4 or letter cardstock, you just cut it in half and then score it that way, and then you'll have a card. So normally when you do this with an A4 piece of cardstock, it's 10.5 centimeters that way and 14.8 centimeters that way. Now, when I was doing the measurements for this, I was a little bit tired, and so I snipped off a bit so that this measures 14.5, so that I didn't have to think so much when I cut my mat. So you'll need one black mat that's 12.5 centimeters by 8.5 centimeters, and of course if you're working on letter cardstock and in inches, you'll easily be able to work that out. This is a centimeter difference all the way around, but I can easily tell you what that is in inches. If I hold that there, you can see. So what's that? 1/3. Anyway, if I hold that there, you can count them and see. So we've got the black mat, and then you'll also need a piece of shimmery white cardstock that's 2 mil smaller, so it's 12.3 centimeters by 8.3. Okay, I've already started this one so that you don't have to watch me colouring all day. I'm so happy with how it turned out. Don't you think that shading around the outside just really makes it pop? Okay, when you're stamping your image, so this is the image here. So for this one, I've just stamped one image here, and then I've come in and stamped another one here. If I just bring in the card that I've already shown you, I stamped the image like that, and then just a few leaves on the edge. So there's lots that you can do. Even though it's a really big stamp, you can use it a few times and do different things with it. or position it differently, I guess I should say. So on the inside of the card, I've also stamped an image, and I've stamped them using StazOn ink. You need a permanent black ink. You don't want to do all this lovely colouring and then have it all bleed. And I've also got the StazOn cleaner. Now I must admit StazOn is not my favourite ink to use, but it does give beautiful dark crisp images, and it's waterproof. So this is the inside of my card. So you'd stamp the inside, and you'd also stamp the front mat of your card. Don't mat it to the black until you've coloured it and all that sort of stuff. I'm just trying to save time. So for the one that I have already completed, I've used some Stampin' Up! Watercolour pencils. I love these because they're really quite soft and you get beautiful blending. If you're finding you're getting scratch marks on your paper, then your watercolour pencils are too hard. And if you've got really old style ones, they can be quite hard, but these ones are really beautiful. So for this one, I've used Balmy Blue and Coastal Cabana, and then the shading I've used Basic Grey. When you're working out which two colours to use that go together, just use a scratch piece of paper first and just scribble on on the scrap paper, and then use your aqua painter to blend them and see how you like them. For the one that I'm going to be showing you today, I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo and Melon Mambo. Now of course you can just use one colour, that works well as well, but I just like using two. It just gives a nice depth of colour. You'll also need an old washer or a towel, and I like to make sure that my aqua painter is about half full. Now when you're using the aqua painter, try and hold on to the solid barrel. If you're holding on up here, you're going to be squeezing water. If you hold down here, then gravity just puts it through very, very gently. The other thing you need to know about these watercolor pencils is you don't want to sharpen them to a sharp point. So when you sharpen them, stop before it gets really pointy. If they're too pointy, then they can make marks in them. So let's start our colouring. I'm going to start with the darkest colour first, which is Melon Mambo. We'll see if we can do this without my head getting in the way. Now what you want to do is pop the colour down where you want it to be darkest first. If you want it to be a lighter version of this, just don't colour as dark as heavily. And then I'm going to use my Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to come right up to where I've done the Melon Mambo, but I'm going to leave about a third of this, I guess it's a leaf, uncoloured, and that gives me room to bring the colour, the lighter version of this in when I'm shading. Okay, so I'm going to go and do the same with the other leaf. Don't be afraid to move your cardstock around. Sorry, I'm trying to do it so that you can see. There we go. It's a bit shadowy today. I've got all the windows open in my craft room because I'm at home. I don't want to feel like I'm locked in, so you'd get less shadows. We've got lots of leaves around, and so it's blowing at the moment, so the shadows are actually from the trees blowing outside. And then this one here, I'll just add a little bit of Melon Mambo. Okay. So I like to do the internal part first, use the aqua paint on it, and then go and do the shadowing. It just gives it a bit of a chance to dry. I don't like to do all the watercolor pencils at once. The other thing is that these are very soft dry paint pigments, I guess, and until you put the water on them, they can smudge. So that's my reasoning for that. So then you get your aqua painter and your towel. Just squeeze a bit of water out to make sure that the bristles are wet or moist, and that you've got colour off from what you were working on previously. Okay, so we're going to pull the colour, this is the Floaty Flamingo, out into where you've left it white, and that's just your lighter version. So I'm going in the direction of the leaf or petal, whatever it is, and the same way that I coloured. And then we're just going to go back into this colour, and see I'm using sort of dabby plonky movements, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to wipe that colour off because that's the dark mellow mambo, and I'm just going to come back up in here and sort of feather it, dabby plonky sort of bits. And you want it to sort of be a bit irregular. That's why I'm sort of using this feathering sort of movement. You don't want it to sort of be an arc of melon mambo, an arc of floaty flamingo. And it doesn't matter if you've got some white in there. Okay, and then as it dries, the colours will blend together and look even better. So let's go on and have a look at this one. So exactly the same process. So I started off by just drawing my colour just from that, the colour on the outside, the Floaty Flamingo, out, and I'm going with the shape of the leaves, petal, whatever it is. Then I'm coming back and I'm starting to use dabby plonky movements and just sort of blend that. That's it. And while it's still wet, you'll feel that you've got colour there that you can move around. Okay, I'm just going to wipe my brush and then come in and sort of just feather this bit out. And I hate to tell you, but it's as simple as that. So then you've just got some dark, some lighter, and some even lighter. This little bit will just go like this. I'm going to leave the berries, or whatever these things are, plain. Okay, now I'm just going to show you the two side by side, so you can see this is the one that hasn't got any shading, and then this is the one that's got shading. I'm hoping that you can see that there's a difference. Maybe if I put them down side by side, so it sort of pops a bit more off the page. So let's go in. So I'm using my basic grey, any light colour. Now I want to do really little circular motions. Just seems to work better. Don't be tempted to just sort of go up and down the side. This seems to work better. And I'm just going around the outside of the image of every line. You can just, if you want to do a particular sort of shading, you can just go on the one side so it looks like the light's coming from there. But for this one, it's just very simple. Now the thicker you do the watercolor pencil, the thicker your shading will be. I'm just trying to keep it not too thick. The idea is that you don't really notice it, but it enhances the design. So I'm just going to turn that around and continue on my merry way. So this is why I've already done the front. I didn't think you'd want to, well, it's almost pretty much like watching paint dry, isn't it? Anyway, there we go. I'll just keep doing this. Now I find if you were to do this shading when you did the watercolor pencils on your leaves, that sometimes it can bleed. The water can come out on this. I just like doing it in this order. I just find that it's it works better. So just sort of like that. You can see, yeah. So just little circular motions, that's it. Now if you were to use watercolor paper, it would work in exactly the same way. It's just that watercolor paper is quite dimpled, and I find when you're using images that are quite detailed like this, I like to use shimmery white. It's just a personal preference, it's really up to you. Get some scraps and give it a try. Okay, aqua painter, rag, squeeze it out to get rid of that pinky tones. And what you're going to do is you're going to use sort of feathery motions, and you're just going to use the tip of your aqua painter, and you're really just pushing the basic grey up against the line. And if you think you've got too much colour on the end of your brush, or it's too wet, just keep going back to your washer, and then you just, that's it. So you're almost washing a great deal of it away, and because these Stampin' Up! Watercolour pencils are really soft, you don't get too many hard edges. So just sort of feather it around, that's it. I don't know why I'm saying that's it, congratulating myself. Oh dear. And then it gives it a bit, almost like a 3D effect, where your image is sort of coming up from the page. I really do love this beautifully braided stamp set, and I've got some other projects in mind with it. I was just going to say when I have time, but I sort of have a bit of time now, don't I? Being in isolation. Well, I'm calling it hibernation. Isolation sounds like I've been bad. Okay, so we're just feathering it, wiping our brush as we go along, and you'll notice I constantly change the direction of my paper. Hopefully that meant that you could see. Now I did try colouring these stems in, these parts here, but they just looked funny. I quite like how they look really light with the grey shading. So it's as simple, that's it, simple as that. I'm happy with that. And then you just let it dry, and then you'll have a nicely shaded area. And it just sort of pops off the page. See how those stems look really white, and I haven't done anything to them at all. Alright, let's get this card put together. So I've already put the front matted it, and I just like that really narrow border. And I've folded my card in half, but I'm just going to leave it open because I don't want to press the card together while that's still drying. Okay, this is going to be on the angle because my camera's in the front there. So it's going to go on like that, and I have used foam adhesive strips. Now foam adhesive strips come in a length that's double this. I cut them in half because I find when they're in half they work really well. Like that. I'm just going to put 3 on there, just like that. If you've gotten this far on the video, I just wanted to thank you for keeping on watching. Look, I know my videos are not very professional. I just do them because I love showing what I'm making. And if I waited until I was really perfect, I just wouldn't do them. So if you're still here, thank you. And I'd love reading your comments. So thank you to everyone who leaves comments and keeps checking in on my blog. Really does mean a lot, particularly in times like this. Okay, now let's have a look at the sentiment. So on the one that I've already made, I've used thank you, and on the inside I put kindness comes in many ways, but always from the heart. Isn't that lovely? Now this little wiggly wavy bit here with the stitching is from a die in the Stitch So Sweetly set. So it's the bigger one here, and I've just cut the ends off. I just thought that that would look like another stamp set. Here we go. For the one that I'm about to finish, I've stamped Your Smile Brightens My Day, and I have popped it on another piece of the die that I just showed you. But when I finished that and went to put it on my card, I just thought it was too big. I'd spent all this time colouring this beautiful image. I didn't want to cover it. So I'm just going to bring an envelope in, and I'm putting my card on here. I'm lining it up close to that edge, and then this will show me how far I can bring this out. Okay, so I had this bright idea. If I popped this bit in my Stampin' Trimmer, then I could cut right up to Smile, and I hope this works. And then I'm just going to fussy cut. I'm sorry if I'm in the way of it. Just going to fussy cut around the letters of Smile. I'll come back and fix that one up in a minute. Just go around this. Let's see how we go. There's no way I could cut that. Oh, I haven't even cut it straight. I was going to say there's no way I could cut that straight by hand. There we go. Okay, and then we'll just go around that a bit better, down a bit more, and then up and around the dotted eye. Oh. There we go. And then we might just go around the S and sort of blend that in. Let's see how that's looking. There we go. So that's going to go on like that. Yeah, I think that'll be nice. Okay. Now, should I pop some black baker's twine? I've got the Country Club twine combo pack, and I'm just using the black out of that. For this one, I just did a loop. I'm just put this, line that back up on my envelope. I'm just going to leave that out like that, just to see how that would look. I'm going to say no. So I'm going to turn this upside down and put it where I want it to go and out as far as I want it to go. And then I'm going to get my Stampin' Dimensionals, and then by placing them on the card, on the card like that, I can see exactly where I need my Stampin' Dimensionals to go. Hopefully they'll be the right size. Okay. There we go, so we've got Your Smile Brightens My Day and Thank You. So that's just a really simple way to use watercolour pencils. Thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear your comments. Take care and stay safe, everybody. Bye.